the growth, I think, in this country for exec ed will be huge, because the large number of population which currently works in industry, okay, that will drive growth in education, exec ed in future. And there are two trends that I see which are very important. One is technology is playing a huge role, which means people want education, and people want education as soon as possible, on the run, on the drive. And therefore technology is going to allow that to happen, which means people are going to get learning through technology. Pedagogical tools are you going to use is another area of research and will drive exec ed in future, because when people start seeing the value of exec ed and how does it help them in their workplace, then that's going to drive. One of the most important thing is that research has to become very, very important. Any education that is taken to the classroom should be based on research, which means there should be validity of any content that is provided to anybody. So therefore the research ecosystem in this country has to improve, because that research will make education very rigorous and the content very rigorous and robust that can be taken to. That's number one. The second thing is this content needs to be now localized as well. A lot of business education content, if you see, was essentially driven by more international global schools. But what we need to do is to see how the needs of our country, okay, has to be developed in a way by which the content supports it. When I was at ISB, my effort was to expand exec ed. And therefore we were always thinking of what is something new that we can do to exec ed. So if we could pioneer those kind of trends, then we could benefit and leverage from it. So therefore I used to go and attend various exec ed programs to learn from them. So for example, you talked about IMD. Now IMD, I think, is a fantastic school which does some very fantastic work in exec ed. Case studies are essentially a pedagogical tool, and it is just unfortunate that most of the case study material that we use are based on global companies. In our early experiences, when India or ISB was supporting a globalized business environment, it was very useful because people would learn how to look at global companies, how do they operate. So therefore you were learning from them as to how they would operate in a globalized and a competitive business environment. But having said that, I think when we are talking about India now, there are unique environments, and therefore case studies should be used, prepared in Indian context, so that you can learn from it. A global business school will tend to have about 60 to 65% of their revenues coming in from, let's say, MBA education, and about 30 to 35% will come in from exec ed. But as I said, that's an average. You could have figures which are both ways. So that's number one which is happening. The second thing that you're asking is, do you see this ratio changing in Indian school? And I think yes, I do see that changing, for the simple reason, and that may not necessarily be be for business schools only, because today exec ed is being provided by various kinds of service providers. Okay, so therefore there are going to be various kinds of players and not just business school. These players will work with business school professors, they may work with others to provide education. So today exec ed is not just the domain of business schools. We're talking about increasingly continuous learning. Okay, so you may have gone to a business school, you would have gone through the education which has been provided. At that age you have a certain experience and a certain exposure to the world. But as you grow into the field of management, okay, and you have different kinds of career transition points, you will continue to go back to those kind of learnings. And remember, latest state-of-the-art things are always coming in, so therefore you need to go back to education. So therefore at different kinds of career transition points you need to refresh yourself, and if you go and study these things, you will find greater insights than what you would have found when you had studied your MBA program. So that's a thing that I continue to do.